Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nadia Sobrati coming to you live from Queens, New York at nadiasobrati.com. How's everyone doing today? I hope you all are doing well. Facebook is building my audience, so I'm going to wait for you guys to jump in. And when you jump in, please let me know where you're coming from so I can give you a shout out, okay? And I need to share this on my fan page and my other group. So when you jump in, please let me know who I have here. Let me know where you're coming from. What state, what country, so I can give you guys a shout out, okay? And you can also comment on the comment section. So I see that I have, hey Clarence, what's up my friend? What are you doing? How have you been? Thank you for joining me. So I want to wait for Facebook to actually build my audience a little more. And, then I'm actually going to get started. I'm going to share this in my international group, and then I'm going to get started with you guys. Hey, Brendan, how are you? Thank you for joining me. So what's going on, guys? How have you been? Hey, Michael. So what's going on, everyone? Hey, Jediah. See, I pronounced it correctly. Hey, Prophets. Hey, Clarence. Oh, we have Clarence from Boston in the house. And, I'm in New York. Guys, it's so cold today. Hey, Ali Ahmed, how are you? Thank you for joining me. Hey, so what's going on, guys? It's so cold in New York. Oh, my gosh. Like, it's fall and the leaves are falling. And you like my little headpiece? Okay, so today, right? Hey, Don, what's up, my friend? How have you been? Don, I'm doing a lot better. All right, guys. So today I want to talk to you all about, today's topic is, are you ready to tell your story? Right, guys? And, Prophets, I'm doing very well. Hey, Rika, how are you? Thank you for joining me. Yankees still suck. Jets... Oh my gosh, I haven't been to one of those games. It's been so long. Okay, guys. So I have enough people on here, and Facebook is actually still building my audience. Thank you, Don. You were right. It takes time and the grieving process. I still miss her. I still cry, but you know what? Like I'm taking it one day at a time. You know what I mean? One day at a time. And that's all I can do, Hey, Butch, how are you? Thank you for joining me. Wow, I have a lot of new people on here I've never met before. So if you're new, comment new on the comment section, and I will get back to you, and we'll talk after I'm done with this live stream. Because, I have so many people joining me every day that are new, and I've never had a conversation with them. I don't know who they are. And I like connecting with people one-on-one. You know what I mean? Getting to know who they are and that type of stuff. So, okay, I'm going to get started. Okay, guys. Today's topic, are you ready to tell your story, right? And as we all know, when it comes to telling your story, guys, it's so important. It's so important. And so many of us, we don't want the world to know who we are. We don't want the world to know who we are. And we have, each and every one of us, guys, we have a story to tell. Whether it's a good story, a bad story, an addiction problem, or whatever problem, family problems, whatever kind of problems you may have, when you start telling your story, right, and letting the world know who you are, guess what's going to happen, guys? People are going to start getting to know who you are. They're going to start liking you. They're going to start trusting you. And the reason why is because they're going to feel a connection with you, right? Because so many of us, we have a story to tell, guys, whether it's a good story or a bad story. And by you telling your story, right, you're going to inspire so many people. You're going to inspire so many people, right? Because you're going to start building trust with them. They're going to feel that connection with you, right? And this is what you want. And I've noticed, what I've noticed? I've been in this business for 1 year, and all the top leaders, the 6- and 7-figure earners, guess what? They're all telling their stories. And I've also noticed a lot of marketers are not comfortable telling their story, right? A lot of marketers are not comfortable. They haven't gotten to that point where they want the world to know, right, guys? But listen, you have to become vulnerable. In this business, It's about building trust with your audience. It's about letting the world know who you are, right? And, you know, when I first started this business a year ago and I found out I had to tell my story, because I was taking a training on storytelling. And after I took that training, I was like, oh my God, I can't tell my story, you know? But guys, my story is not a bad story, but I'm going to tell you guys my story today. But, you know, I felt vulnerable. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't just go live and tell the world who I am and how I ended up here, you know? You have to have braggers and humble ones. Exactly. You know, I totally agree, right, guys? But you want to be humble. You want the world to know who you are. And after, you know, telling my story a few times, then I got so comfortable telling my story that hey, Margaret, that I have no problem telling people my story. But my story is not a bad story. And I'm going to tell you guys how I ended up here and what led me to online marketing. My story had to do with our economic system, right? So I'm going to go back to 2006, right? In 2006, I was a loan officer for a mortgage company. And, you know, it got to a point where there were so many issues with the mortgage companies back then that a lot of us wasn't making money. I wasn't making money. And I quit, right? I quit. And then, you know, I think 2 months after that, I met my ex-fiance. We got engaged, we moved in together, and I didn't work, guys. I did not work for that whole 9 years we were together, right? He's a business owner. I didn't have to work, but he enjoyed traveling a lot, and I enjoyed traveling. So this is what really attracted us together. So for the first 2 years we were together, all we did was travel, you know, like everywhere. We were traveling everywhere, all over the place, right? We were traveling for 2 years. And, you know, after 2 years, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I didn't want to go back to the mortgage business, right? I didn't want to do accounting because I already had a degree in accounting. So I was like, you know, because I didn't want to sit behind a desk dealing with numbers, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I decided to go into healthcare, right? So I went back to school. And I was in school for a long time. I did one degree, then I went to another university, did another degree, then I did another degree, but they were all in healthcare, right, guys? So after I finished, you know, my bachelor's degree in public health, well, I already had an associate degree in accounting, and this was when I was really young, when I was 21 years old. So I didn't went back to school until I was 35, right? So I went back to school at the age of 35, and I got a degree in health information technology. You know, I also got certified. I got another degree in public health. Hey, Dinky, what's up, beautiful? I also got another degree in public health. So after I completed my degree in my bachelor's in public health, I did my internship at a clinic in the Bronx. I was treating HIV patients. And, you know, I was treating HIV patients. I was doing counseling and all of that stuff. I worked for a little while, and guess what? They cut fundings. So, you know, here I am applying for jobs all over the place, and I cannot find a job. I cannot find a job in healthcare at all. So I decided to go back to school and study acupuncture and oriental medicine. Right, guys? Guess what? Couldn't find a job again. I could not find a job, and I applied to hundreds of jobs. I must have went to all the staffing agencies in New York. I even flew cross country to Cerna, because, you know, they were looking for people with high GPA. And I graduated summa cum laude, guys, twice. That's the 1% of my graduating, like, the graduates graduate with graduate summa cum laude. So I graduated with 4.0 GPA in 2 degrees, right? And here I am, I cannot find a job. I went on a handful of interviews. They're like, well, we want 3 to 5 years experience. Where am I going to get 3 to 5 years experience? No one wants to hire me, right? So, you know, I was like, what am I going to do, right? And as children, you know, our parents raised us like, go to school, get an education, get high grades, and when you get out of school, you'll be able to get a job, right, guys? It wasn't like that. There were so many people that graduated that same time I graduated, none of us could find jobs, right? I must have went to all the staffing agencies in New York. I mean, I applied to hundreds and hundreds of jobs, and I couldn't get a job. And I finally did get a job working for some company out in Long Island, selling DirecTV, which I hated it, you know. And it was 6 hours a day. They were paying $12 an hour. The owner of the company never even paid me the full amount of money. I did that for 3 weeks and I quit. And I got into a point where I got very depressed, guys. I got so depressed. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, here I am, highly educated. I got tons of student loans. I can't even make the payments. I was making a minimum payments, which was covering the interest. Honestly, it was like about $300-400 a month, right? And, I took out a lot of loans. And I was like, what am I going to do, So a friend of mine, he's a judge in the Supreme Court in New York City, right? He's like, Nadia, listen. He goes, you have all these degrees, you're highly qualified. He goes, why don't you, take some training to become a certified court-appointed guardian, start your own consulting business, and I will get you clients. So guess what? I did that. I did that for 8 months. And in the beginning, yes, I was getting clients. But then again, it was taking a long time for me to get paid because, it goes through the court system, right? So I'm like, what am I going to do now? And one day, I became very depressed. So one day I was at home and I'm actually, on Facebook and I saw Chid, right? Chid sponsored me into MLSP. And that was the very first thing I did, guys. That was the very first thing I did. Because remember, I came from a healthcare background. And guys, I have all my degrees on my walls. I have 18 certificates and I could not find a job. All right? I could not find a job in my discipline at all. And so I'm highly qualified. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? All these degrees, tons of student loans, all these certificates, and no one wants to hire me. I even took the city test for public health and all of these other things, for child protective services. And you have to wait on a waiting list, guys. You have to wait on a waiting list for them to call you on an interview. And I even flew out to Cerna. I was interviewed with 24 people. They were only looking to fill 2 positions. And they flew us all out because they wanted people with high GPAs. This is what I'm telling you about our economic system. Our economic system, it's not the way it used to be, right? So, for me going back to school, I already had a degree. I didn't need to go back to school and get all these degrees, but I really wanted to be in healthcare. Anyway, one day I was actually, on Facebook and I saw Chid, right? He sponsored me to MLSP and he was telling his story. He was telling his story and his struggles, and this is what caught my attention. And I messaged him that night and we talked for 3 hours. And he walked me through the back office of MLSP. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. And I signed up that night and I never looked back. It's been 1 year. It's been 1 year, guys. And this was the best decision that I've ever made for myself. This was the best decision I've ever made for myself because I knew that I had to learn the skills. I came from a health background with no knowledge of online marketing. And, yes, it was scary in the beginning because I never went live and put myself out there and was vulnerable and to tell my story, right? But as I started telling my story, I started attracting more people in my audience because they started having that connection with me, right, guys? So many people, we go through so many things in our lives. This is why it's so important. It's so important that you tell your story and let people know who you are. Whether it's a good story or a bad story, right? So I joined MLSP and for the first 3 months, I went into learning mode. I had no idea what I was doing until I hired a coach. All right? I hired a coach. And after I hired a coach, this is when I started getting results. And it's been 1 year, guys. I've ranked 5 times in 1 year. I've ranked 5 times. I'm building a huge team. I'm training everyone. So I came a long way, and, even though I'm not in healthcare because I really went into healthcare because I wanted to help people. Now I'm doing this and I'm helping hundreds of people worldwide. So I'm still getting, that gratification that I wanted, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to share that with you all. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Hey, Chris. But I just wanted to share that with you all. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is my story. This is my story. And my story had to do with our tough economic system. And there's so many people out there that are struggling with the same story, guys, that are going through the same issues. So it doesn't matter, whatever your stories are, you want to start getting comfortable and you want to start telling people. You want them to know who you are. Tell your story. Don't be embarrassed. Because you know something? You're going to be inspiring so many people by telling them your story, you know? So I just wanted to share that with you all. Do you guys have any questions for me? Hey, Chris, how are you? Do you have any questions for me when it comes to telling your story? You know what I'm actually going to do? If you guys, want help with anything, send me a message on Messenger. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to give all of you a free training, right? On how to tell your story. It's a step-by-step guide, how to tell your story and how to get comfortable, telling your story to inspire others, right? Because there are so many different ways you can tell your story, but I'm going to give you all the free training. So I'm going to post in the comments section, okay? So thank you all so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I love you guys, and talk to you all soon. Bye, everyone.